Today's lesson is Coldplay, The End of an Era. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Helen.
And today, again, we're going to continue talking about the British rock band Coldplay. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't. There's a good chance that you have because they've been around for a very long time. Their debut album, Parachutes, was released way back in 2000. I remember I actually bought that album at that time, except at the time, it was on a CD. You couldn't really go on to Spotify back in those days. You had to buy CDs or borrow them from friends or listen to the radio.
Yes, they've been popular for a long time, but now it seems they've decided to disband, to separate. And unfortunately, that is the case for a lot of bands that have been around for a long time because old bands need to make way for newer bands, newer musicians, so that music can go on and progress and be innovative.
Exactly. So that's what's happening to Coldplay. They're coming out with some new projects to end their career, and they're going to move on to bigger and better things. Maybe they're going to be solo artists now, or they're going to change jobs totally. Let's continue talking about Coldplay in today's lesson. We'll begin by listening to the first part, and we'll talk about the leader, Chris Martin.
In 2021, Martin made a surprising announcement. Coldplay would complete 3 more projects before wrapping up their remarkable career. While fans were undoubtedly sad to hear the news, Martin promised that the band would make their last productions truly exceptional. Rumors have since been making the rounds about what the projects will involve, with one confirmed to be a musical film.
大家好，我们来看第一部分中的单字 remarkable。它是形容词，意思是非凡的、出众的或是引人注目的。例如 That child shows a remarkable ability in learning new languages. 那名孩子在学习新语言方面展现出非凡能力。或者 That painter's artistic techniques are remarkable. 那位画家的艺术技巧很出众。下一个我们来介绍形容词 exceptional。它的意思是不同凡响的、卓越的或是特殊的、例外的。例如 Ken has an exceptional understanding of modern art. Ken 对现代艺术有着不同凡响的理解。又或者说The team has several exceptional players on it. 那一个球队上有好几个卓越的球员。另外，去掉这个字的字尾 al 就会变成名词 exception， 它有例外或是特例的意思。例如 Many animals in Africa are powerful hunters, and the lion is no exception. 非洲许多动物都是强健的狩猎者，狮子也不例外。又或者说I don't usually eat dessert, but tonight I'll make an exception. 我通常不吃甜食，但今晚我会破例一次。
In 2021, Martin made a surprising announcement. Coldplay would complete 3 more projects before wrapping up their remarkable career. So around 2 years ago, Martin, who is the lead singer and one of the founding members of the band, made an announcement that surprised everybody. The announcement was that the band would go on to do 3 more projects. Now, these projects could be albums, tours, etc. And then afterwards, they would wrap up their career. So to wrap up means to finish something. In other words, Coldplay will end their career, which has been remarkable. Remarkable basically means special or something that's so special that it's worth mentioning.
Right. Part of this word is remark, which means something that is said about something. So if something's remarkable, hey, it's worthy of commenting on. It's really great. It's really fantastic. It's wonderful. So they've had this remarkable career, and they're going to wrap it up. They're going to end their great career with these 3 projects. We don't know exactly what they are. Could be films, could be a concert tour, could be a new album. We don't quite know here, but while fans were undoubtedly sad to hear the news, Martin promised that the band would make their last productions truly exceptional. So, of course, the fans are sad without a doubt. They are sad. They are unhappy to hear that this band is calling it quits. They're wrapping up their remarkable career. But Martin said, well, don't worry. We still have some final productions. and they're going to be received by you, and you're going to like them, and we're going to give you something special. He does say that they are truly exceptional. If something's exceptional, well, it's kind of like remarkable. It's really great, it's unusual, and of course, it's really fantastic. It's something that you need to pay attention to.
Right. So, for instance, I could say something like Greg is an exceptional student, which means that he is a very, very good student. I could also say that Greg is a remarkable student, which means he's a really good student. So, in this sentence, remarkable and exceptional can replace one another because they both basically mean very, very good.
Right, so they didn't say exactly what those 3 projects would be, so rumors have since been making the rounds about what the projects will involve, with one confirmed to be a musical film. So, of course, when you don't have complete information about something, oftentimes you get rumors, ideas that go around. They may or may not be true. So, of course, fans are talking about this online or articles in newspapers or websites, or speculating or guessing about what those 3 projects will be. So those rumors have made the rounds, or they're making the rounds. And if something makes the rounds, it just kind of goes around. It circulates in a group of people or in society.
Right. A story or a piece of news can make the rounds. And when that happens, the piece of news goes from person to person. So it's a bit like gossip. One person finds out something and tells another person, and so on and so forth.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's move on now to the second part. What do you say we listen to it first?
Beyond their music, Coldplay is dedicated to the environment, especially through sustainable touring. The band recognized the impact of their concerts and decided to take action. In 2019, they declared that they would make future tours as green as possible. They aim to achieve this by reducing their carbon footprint through actions such as limiting single-use plastics and using renewable energy sources like kinetic stadium floors during performances.
第二部分我们看到形容词 dedicated， 它有热忱、投入的或是一心一意的意思。例如 David is dedicated to helping the poor. David 对于帮助穷人很有热忱。又或者说 The boxer is dedicated to the sport and trains every day. 那名拳击手全心全意投入这项运动，每天都会进行训练。接下来介绍动词 declare， 它的意思是宣布、宣告或是宣称。例如The judges declared Wendy the winner of the baking competition. 裁判宣布温迪是这场烘焙比赛的冠军。又或者说 The governor declared the state a disaster area after the hurricane. 那位州长在飓风过后宣布该州为灾区。另外补充这个字的名词 declaration. D-E-C-L-A-R-A-T-I-O-N. Declaration. 它是指宣告、宣誓或是宣言声明。也可以是申报书或是书面通知。例如 The politician made a declaration that he was against raising taxes. 这位政客发表声明称他反对增税。又或者说 Please fill out this declaration form before passing through customs. 请在通过海关之前填写这份申报表。
So we've talked about Coldplay's music, but there are other aspects of Coldplay that make them truly remarkable. Beyond their music, Coldplay is dedicated to the environment, especially through sustainable touring. So we find out that Coldplay really cares about the environment. They are dedicated to it. So when you're dedicated to something or to somebody, you believe that they're very important and you want to spend time to take care of it. I could also say, for instance, that I am dedicated to going to the gym because that's something I truly love and I believe in, so I'm dedicated to that. Or a person such as Mary could be dedicated to her husband, John, which means that she loves him very much, takes good care of him, does things for him, and so on and so forth. Here, Coldplay is dedicated to the environment.
Right, and of course, sometimes when an author releases a book, they dedicate the book to someone. This book is dedicated to my dear mother. Without her, I would not be the person I am them today. But here, of course, they are committed to the environment. They want to make sure that the environment is not suffering because of them. This, of course, would refer to their concerts and maybe to how they release music here. But this is especially through sustainable touring. Touring, of course, means they go from city to city, country to country, and give concerts to their fans. If something's sustainable, it can continue. It can keep on lasting for a long time. So this, of course, when you see the word sustainable, you're talking about the environment. You're talking about things that do not destroy the environment. It's talking about renewable resources, things that you can use again and again.
Yes, the band recognized the impact of their concerts and decided to take action. So we don't really know what they recognized, but we could imagine, for instance, that perhaps they thought that traveling around from city to city or country to country was really creating a large carbon footprint because of the fuel that they use up during their travels. Maybe the food that they ate before had to be shipped from one place to another, and now they decided to eat locally and not have food brought from their home, but to eat whatever is available in the place where they're going to give a concert. So these are just some possible examples of how they're trying to make their tour more sustainable.
Exactly. So, of course, it takes a lot of electricity to have a concert, especially if you're playing outdoors someplace or even indoors. You need to have a lot of electricity for people to hear what you're performing. And, of course, you need lights for the light show and for the monitors that show close-ups of the singer or the drummer or whatever as the concert is going on. And, of course, that uses a lot of electricity. So, of course, that can damage the environment, especially if that electricity is coming from coal or fossil fuels. It is being produced by those fuels. So, in the past, they decided to take action. They decided to do something about this so that they wouldn't affect the environment so badly. Back in 2019, which is about 4 years ago, they declared that they would make future tours as green as possible. So if you declare something, you state something to the public that this is the case, that you're going to do something. You could declare that you're going to run for the presidency. You might declare your candidacy. You're going to tell everybody that, yes, I'm going to try to become the president. Hopefully, people will vote for me and they'll pick me.
Yes, and sometimes leaders declare war on another country. So when two countries go to war, they don't just start fighting. They have to officially say, we're going to go to war, and that's when they declare war on one another. Or simply a person can declare their love for another person. So these are some examples of how to use the word declare. And Coldplay aimed to achieve this to make tours as green as possible by reducing their carbon footprint through actions such as limiting single-use plastics and using renewable energy sources like kinetic stadium floors during performances. So when you want to do things that are environmentally sustainable, you want to make sure that your carbon footprint isn't too big, or you want to try to lower your carbon footprint. So carbon footprint refers to the measurement of the amount of carbon dioxide that you produce through your activities. So, for instance, somebody who travels a lot may have a higher carbon footprint because they're always moving around in airplanes and trains, and those use up a lot of fuel. So that person has a very large carbon footprint.
Right. So somebody who walks to school or work or rides their bicycle and then eats only locally produced food would have a small carbon footprint. But as in Helen's example, somebody who travels a lot and eats a lot of imported food, well, they're going to have a big carbon footprint. And here, of course, they want to reduce their carbon footprint through actions such as limiting single-use plastics and using renewable energy sources like kinetic stadium floors during performances. So single-use plastics, of course, are dangerous to the environment because they do not biodegrade as quickly as other kinds of materials, I should say. And they want to use renewable energy sources, which would include solar power or wind power, things like that. So renewable means you can use it again and again. It can be renewed Like if you check out a book from the library and you're not done reading it, well, you can get it renewed. You can keep it for another 3 weeks or so. Or if you're in a country on a tourist visa and you want to stay a little longer, you can renew your visa.
Yes, and they also want to use things like kinetic stadium floors. And these floors are a source of renewable energy. So perhaps these stadium floors provide energy through movement because that's what the word kinetic refers to. And stadium, of course, refers to the place or the arena where the band will perform in front of large audiences.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Let's now listen to the third and final part.
As Coldplay approaches their final chapter, the band's influence on the music industry cannot be denied. They have touched the hearts of millions with their soul-stirring melodies, and their coming works are sure to secure their place in rock history. Though fans must prepare to say goodbye, they can take comfort in knowing that Coldplay's music will continue to inspire for years to come.
最后第三部分，我们看到动词 secure， 它是指巩固、确保、保证或是保卫、使安全的意思。例如 After 10 years of business, the owners felt that they had secured their place in the market. 经过10年的经营，那些业主们认为他们已经在市场上巩固了一席之地。又或者说 The singer needs just one more platinum album to secure his place in the Hall of Fame. 这位歌手只需要再一张白金唱片，就能确保他在名人堂的地位。
As Coldplay approaches their final chapter, the band's influence on the music industry cannot be denied. So we refer to the end or the approaching end of Coldplay's career as a band as their final chapter. So that's a figurative way of saying that something has come to an end. If you look at life as a book, or if you look at your career as a book, when you come to your final chapter, then you have come to the end of your career. So Coldplay is coming to the end of their career as a band, but we can't deny that they have had a really big influence on the music industry.
Yep, you have to admit it. You cannot deny it. Even though you may not be a big fan of them, you have to admit that they have had a big influence on the music industry, and they have touched the hearts of millions with their soul-stirring melodies. And their coming works are sure to secure their place in rock history. Remember, we talked about 3 projects that they're coming out with. One was supposed to be a musical film, but we don't quite know what the other 2 of those final projects are. So these are their coming works. They're works of art that are coming out in the future. And if we have those, then of course their place in rock history will be secured. And if you secure something, you make sure that it stays where it's supposed to be. You make sure that it's fastened there. You guarantee that this thing is going to be the case.
Right. To secure can also mean to get something using a lot of work and energy to get that thing. So I could say, for instance, I was able to secure tickets to the concert. And that would imply that it wasn't easy to buy tickets to the concert because a lot of people wanted to go. Maybe it was close to being sold out, but I was able to secure tickets to that concert. So Coldplay has secured their place in rock history, and though fans must prepare to say goodbye, they can take comfort in knowing that Coldplay's music will continue to inspire for years to come.
Right, so you might be upset about this. You might be disappointed that Coldplay are going to break up and they're going to go their separate ways, but you can take comfort in knowing that the music will continue for quite some time. If you take comfort in something, well, you make yourself feel better even though a bad thing is happening. Yes, I lost my job, but I can take comfort in the fact that I can find a new one and maybe my life can actually improve. Maybe my last job wasn't so great after all. So you can take comfort in knowing that their music will continue for years to come. And for years to come just refers to the future. And it also means that this is going to be the case for many, many years. Okay, so you're probably going to be able to hear their music on the internet or on the radio for a long time. And yes, indeed, we aren't mentioning the fact that the individual members of the band can go solo and produce some very interesting kinds of music as well.
Right. So Coldplay, even though they are no longer or they will no longer be a band in the very near future, their music lives on, and who knows? Perhaps one day they will do a reunion, which is what a lot of bands do after they say they will break up. And then 5 or 10 years later, they decide that they're bored being retired and they come back together and start touring and put out a new album.
Indeed, or they may be poor in the future and they need a quick source of revenue, so they'll get back together and do the oldies circuit. Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. Here comes our Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文一开始提到2021年 Chris Martin 发表了一个令人惊讶的声明，就是酷玩乐团将在完成3个计划后结束他们非凡的职业生涯。那么文中他用到片语动词 wrap up 来表达结束的意思。那么 wrap up 它本来是指将什么东西包裹起来，那可以引申表达结束、总结、完成。我们这边也顺便补充2个跟 wrap 有关的用法。第一个呢，可以用be wrapped up in something 来描述说某人专心致力于某事，对某事有极大的兴趣。像是 My sister was completely wrapped up in her work, so she didn't hear me come through the door. 我姐姐完全专注在她的工作上，所以没听到我走进门。好，那第二个补充的是wrap one's mind around 或者是 wrap one's head around， 这是口语用法，是表达说试图了解、理解、弄懂。那也有这种 get one's head around 或者是 get one's mind around 的说法。那像这样的用法呢，常常会用在否定句里面，像是I just can't wrap my mind around these forms. 我看不懂这些表格，我就是搞不懂这些表格诶。好，再造一个例句是 I'm still trying to get my head around this whole thing. 我还在努力试着搞懂这整件事情。好，我们再看到课文第2部分有一句写到，在2019年，酷玩乐团他们宣布未来的巡演将尽可能地环保。文中是用 as green as possible 来表达尽可能地环保。那我们来整理一下表达尽可能怎么样的句型。好，首先我们在 as possible 或是 as one can 在2个 as 之间加入了形容词或副词的时候，这时候是表达尽量怎么样，尽可能怎么样。像是 Jenny tries to keep her room as clean as possible 或是 as clean as she can， 就是表达 Jenny 尽量让自己的房间保持干净。好，接着我们来看到在 as possible 或是在 as one can 2个 as 中间加入了 many 复数可数名词，或者是加入 much 不可数名词，这时候则是表达尽可能多怎么样。我们看2个例句哦，像 The doctor advised her to get as much rest as possible. 医生建议他尽可能多休息，所以 as much rest as possible 就是尽可能多休息。好，那么 Kevin's dream is to travel around the world and visit as many countries as he can， 就是说 Kevin 的梦想是环游世界，尽可能多去一些国家。那么 as many countries as 像这样就是尽可能多的国家的意思。好，那么以上今天重点整理，我们就来回顾今天的单字吧。
Remarkable. The young child's remarkable painting ability amazed her art teacher. Exceptional. An exceptional goal by the team's captain won the game in the last minute. Dedicated. Maxine is dedicated to being a good role model for her younger sisters. Sustainable. The company has employed a variety of sustainable practices to reduce its environmental impacts. Declare. In response to the flooding, the mayor declared a state of emergency. Secure. Cedric worked long hours to secure his job after his company was taken over by new owners.
Discussion Starter starts now!
Here's our discussion starter for today, and the question is, why do you think Coldplay has had such a successful career in music?
I think the band's success primarily comes from the fact that they play and write pop music that everybody can listen to. So they don't really play a particular genre of music that perhaps some people love and others hate. They're kind of middle of the road, which means they don't go in any direction, go into extremes in any way.
Well, in my opinion, the band has been so successful because they try a lot of different approaches to their music. They're trying different chords, they try different progressions, they use different modes in their music, and the lyrics, of course, are very interesting as well. And when bands produce sounds that we haven't heard before, they're going to be very successful.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoy reading along with us. I am Helen.
I am Roger.
See you next time.